Hi everyone, this is Melanie Fainall here to talk to you today about teacher-created formative and summative assessments. So I would describe this type of tool as a teacher-created assessment based off of student needs. Now, as much as these type of collection tools are prevalent in our classrooms, I was very shocked that there wasn't a really good section in any of the readings that specifically talked about what formative and summative assessments were. Using my prior knowledge, I was able to see them sprinkled throughout all the articles, whether they talked about a written response, a performance task, a multiple choice question, rubrics or exit tickets, or a project. And these type of tools are definitely quantitative because at the end of the day, what us as teachers are looking for is do our students get it? Are they proficient? Are they meeting the standards? And if they aren't, are they going above and beyond what is expected? Are they almost there but just need some more support, or are they way off a benchmark? And this can be done through using percentages, using scales or points. And at one point I did toy around with the idea that this type of collection tool could also be qualitative just because of the more open-ended responses, the projects, the performance tasks. But in the end, I still see it as a quantitative collection tool because us as teachers are usually creating rubrics or checklists that go along with it so that the students know what's expected of them for that project or that response, and we as teachers are able to successfully evaluate their work and see whether they are right where they need to be or if they are going on either side of that spectrum. So the great thing about this type of data collection tool is the flexibility it gives you. It gives you the flexibility to decide what goes on it, how you give it, what format it is, what time you give it, when you give it. It's really good. It also lets you then meet your students' needs. If your students do better on a digital assessment or paper pencil assessment, maybe they need more scaffolds in place. Maybe they are having trouble with two-step word problems, so you're going to focus on one-step word problems with math. It gives you the flexibility as the teacher to meet your students where they're at with taking assessments and academically as well. And that goes along with reflecting the learning that's happening inside the classroom. Whether it's a current unit you're working on, maybe you have a reteach group that you're working with and you want to see how they're doing and progressing throughout there. It's great with that. And again, they can be informal, quick little check-ins, or they could be a end of the unit assessment. Unfortunately, this flexibility is a huge weakness with this type of collection tool because there's not really a standard that says this is what a formative assessment should look like. This is what a summative assessment should look like. This is what it should include. This is what it should not include. And sometimes, depending on you as a test maker, you might not be able to get the exact information you need from that assessment. For example, maybe there's a word that students don't understand or can't comprehend that stop them from being able to fully show their mastery of the skill. Maybe there's a prerequisite skill that students have not yet mastered so that they're unable to correctly show their mastery of a skill or even be able to master that skill yet. Another thing is too, maybe it's presented in a different way than they were taught, so when they are shown a problem or given a scenario, they're unable to apply those skills because they're not quite sure how to do it. So there are some variables that can make a difference between do my students know it or is there something else that's affecting their being able to apply and show their skill. So I definitely see some concern in the areas of validity, reliability, and ethics with this type of data collection tool. A lot of it with validity is deciding what's a worksheet versus what is an actual assessment. How are you dictating what is going to be a formative assessment versus what's going to be a summative assessment? What's going to be graded, what's not going to be graded? And that lack of standardization on what the assessment should look like, especially if one day one exit ticket looks one way, the next day the exit ticket looks a different way. Are you really having students show you mastery of a skill, or is it inconsistent? And again, is it giving me the right information, or is there something else that is stopping the students from being able to show their mastery? With reliability, there's a lot of outside factors that go along in teaching, whether it's students who didn't eat breakfast, fire drills, maybe holidays even. And also with the reliability, sometimes you might not know, was it the lesson that maybe wasn't working? Is it the student who isn't grasping the concept? And there's just too many different types of formative and summative assessments and variances that you might not be able to get a consistent feel for how students are doing because the assessment types are switching constantly. And as with ethics, sometimes I feel that a bias is going to be a big part in this. Mainly because us as teachers are spending 180 days with these students and we're knowing them inside and out. And sometimes when it comes to looking at an assessment, formative or summative, sometimes we end up making excuses for why students didn't do well or did do well, or saying, based off the knowledge that we already have of our students. And the other question that I kind of put along there with ethics is, are we testing students too much? Where do you draw the line between how many formative or how many summative assessments you give? And are students getting too worn out by taking those assessments as well? Well, thank you so much for listening to my presentation on teacher-created formative and summative assessments. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and thank you for listening.